Hola mis amigos y bienvenidos a una lección sobre el subjuntivo con la emoción. If you haven't already seen my first lesson on el subjuntivo that gives you an introduction to this verb mood and a foundation for everything we'll do with it, I really suggest you see that first or even review it if it's been a while. In this particular lesson, we'll focus on one aspect of el subjuntivo, la emoción. We all have emoción, ¿verdad? So, let's get started. Bien, we know we need the following in order to use subjuntivo, ¿verdad? We need que. Remember, que is the equivalent of that in English. For example, I hope that you have a nice day. He is glad that we are at the party. You also need a cambio de sujeto, a change of subject. Here's an example of a change of subject. It is necessary that we study the subjuntivo. The subject changed from it to we. Another example of cambio de sujeto. He hopes that she arrives on time. The subject changed from he to she. And also, in order to use subjuntivo, we need what I call edin, an expression of emotion, doubt, influence, or negativity. And the good news for you, clase, is that I use this way of summarizing emotion, doubt, influence, and negativity all together. And that really represents what your textbook expresses or introduces over several chapters. And I think that in this way you can become more familiar with the concept of subjuntivo as opposed to just memorizing expressions. At this particular time, we're going to focus just on the emotion part of edin, expresiones de emoción. So let's bring a few in. In dealing with these expresiones de emoción, you just need to treat them as vocabulario primero, amigos. You've got to know what they mean. So we'll get started. Alegrarse de is to be glad. And you note that the de is in parentheses. Some people put de after alegrarse, some don't. Your super site will expect you to, hint, hint. So that's something that might make your life easier. Alegrarse de. And there's an asterisk because I'll say more about alegrarse later. Esperar, to hope or wait. Hopefully that's review for you. Gustar. Gustar means to be pleasing. It's a very important verb that we all like to use a lot because we like to talk about what's pleasing to us, what's pleasing to others. More on that one later. Molestar. Molestar is not a cognate, but close enough to help you remember it. Molestar is to bother, if something is bothersome to you. We'll talk about that structure later too. Sentir, which is an E to IE stem changer in the presente. It literally means to regret or to feel. So if someone says to you, "Ay, lo siento," and that's a common expression for "I'm sorry," it literally means "I regret it." That's where that comes from. I regret it, lo siento. And that, of course, expresses emoción. We have sorprender, which I'll also mention later, and it means to surprise. Temer, to fear. Or expresiones de emoción, tener miedo de, that is a throwback to our vocabulario from capítulo 3 with our tener expressions, things that we have in Spanish. And these are some great ones that you can use anytime, whether with subjunctive or not. Es extraño, it is strange. Es una lástima, it is a shame. Es ridículo. It is ridiculous. Es terrible. It is terrible. And es triste. It is sad. Finally, we have one of my personal favorites, ojalá. Ojalá sounds a little different, doesn't it? And you can either use que with it or not, which I'll remind you of later. And it literally translates to God grant that, and is a way of expressing what you really, really hope for. So, oh, how I hope, or God grant that. Ojalá does sound a little different, and that's because it comes from the time when the Moors or the Arabs were in Spain, and that was for over 7 centuries, by the way, a little reminder of your Spanish history there, your world history. And ojalá comes from saying, oh Allah, please give me this. Oh God, grant that. So it's kind of fun to know that linguistic history. And I just think ojalá is a really fun word to say anyway. And you'll have some good experiences with it later in this lesson. Bien, hay que recordar. Few things to note just about using these expressions of emoción before you even get to the subjunctive part. Remember that alegrarse is reflexive. We know a verb is reflexive if it has se on the end of the infinitivo, and that shows up as me or te or se or nos or se before the conjugated verb, as in me alegro or mis padres se alegran. Also note that we have some verbs that require an objeto indirecto, like gustar, molestar, and sorprender. A Juan le gusta. It is pleasing to Juan. A mí me molesta. It is bothersome to me. A mis tíos les sorprende. It is bothersome to them. If you want to go back and review these types of verbos that require an objeto indirecto, it'd be a great idea to revisit capítulo 7. That's where all that came in. It's really important to be able to differentiate between the reflexivo, reflexive, and objeto indirecto. Shows up in a couple of these expressions, as you see. Bien, some more things to be watching for. Ojo, what if there is no change of subject? Remember, we talked about on the second slide of this lesson that you have to have change of subject in order to use the subjuntivo. So amigos, no matter how much you love using the subjuntivo, if there's no change of subject in your sentence, you don't get to use it. Just take it easy and use the conjugated verb plus the infinitivo. Look at this example. I'm afraid I'll lose my keys. There's no change of subject. The subjects are I and I. So sorry, it's very sad, but you don't get to use subjuntivo. You use a conjugated verb plus an infinitive. Temo perder mis llaves. Literally, I fear losing my keys. I fear to lose my keys. Another example of a sentence with no change of subject. She hopes she can go. It's the same she, it's the same person, so there's no change of subject. Take it easy. Conjugated verb plus infinitive. Espera poder ir. She hopes to be able to go. So watch out for those. It's easy to become overly obsessed with subjunctive right now and try to use it all the time. But you only use it when you have all three requirements. Que, change of subject, and erin. And I mentioned this a few moments ago. Ojalá, when you use it, que is optional. So you could say, ojalá todos entiendan esta lección. You can just leave out the que. Ojalá mañana sea sábado. Oh, how I hope tomorrow is Saturday. But if you want to use que with ojalá just for being consistent and to know you're getting it right, that's absolutely fine too. No pasa nada. Bien, so now that we've got all that groundwork set up, let's look at some ejemplos con subjuntivo con emoción. Me gusta que muchos jóvenes pasen tiempo afuera jugando. I like that many young people spend time outside playing. I've got a regular verb here in the presente del indicativo. I have que, which we know is required, and then I have a verb in the subjuntivo. And remember, that's how these work. You have a normal verb in the indicativo, which is the present that you used for a long time, and then you have que, and then you have a verbo in the subjuntivo. Otro ejemplo, es extraño que unos no quieran ver el mundo. It's strange that some people don't want to see the world. Verb in the indicative, followed by que, and then subjuntivo. Profe Nelson se alegra de que mires este video. Verb in the indicative, Profe Nelson is happy, followed by que, and then the verb in the subjuntivo. And finally, espero poder ver los paisajes hermosos de Chile un día. I hope that I'm able to see the beautiful scenes in Chile one day. Watch out. There's no change of subject here, right? Because it's I hope I see. So that's why I used conjugated verb plus infinitive and even another infinitive, which makes it really spicy. ¿Verdad, clase? I hope you'll push pause here and really take time to contemplate each of these examples and how they have indicative, followed by que, followed by subjunctive. For each one, stop and ask yourself, does this sentence have all three things I need in order to use subjuntivo? Does it have que? Does it have a change of subject? And does it have an expression of emotion, doubt, influence, or negativity? Really important to be making all those connections now. Bien, so now that that's done, let's get in some práctica clase. Aquí tienen 5 frases para completar. Take your time with these, push pause and complete each one, thinking about all we've talked about with what is required for using subjuntivo, and then you can check your answers on the next slide. Buena suerte. And here you have your respuestas clase with llames, recuerde, sepa, ayuden, and veamos. Notice that every single answer is in the presente del indicativo because every single sentence had que, had a change of subject, and had a verb of emotion, doubt, influence, or negativity. Bien, a little more in-depth practice. Let's link this concept together with our vocabulario para hacer observaciones sobre el medio ambiente. Challenge yourself to write some sentences that are comments about the environment, putting our vocab and your hopes, your emotions together. Here are my examples. Me sorprende que unas personas no reciclen. Es una lástima que haya is the presente del subjuntivo of I. Es una lástima que haya contaminación en las ciudades grandes. See if you can write a few sentences like that yourself. Bien, y por fin, clase, una esperanza para ustedes. Ojalá que tus sueños sean más grandes que tus miedos. Ojalá que tus sueños sean, ding, 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 subjuntivo, más grandes que tus miedos. Y es verdad, clase, así espero. Muchas gracias a todos, buena suerte y que tengan un buen día. Chao.